On it.
Send them at me in waves!
Somebody saw that, right? Terrible!
Consider it
How am I
done.
not dead yet?
I got it.
By your command.
I got it.
We need to hurry, or the chorus will reach Ascension Hall.
I got it.
You'll have to handle that!
I got it. I got it.
I'm starting to think we're bad at making...
I got it.
I am a shield wall unto myself!
I will break you!
Right.
As you commanded. Consider it done.
That's how it's done!
I'm enjoying this a little too much.
On your knees, worm!
I've got it. I got it. Will do.
I will break you!
I got it.
Them is finally catching up to my head.
As you wish. Terrible at this! How am I not dead yet?
I'll admit that from the record.
My armor feet. Feels right.
As you wish. Kill me?
Right.
Leaves me bitter
I'll
and
admit that
jaded.
from the record.
Get back here!
I'm on it.
On it. See that? do.
Saw that, right?
I got it.
Take care.
On it. I got it.
We'll have your head. I feel...
As you wish.
I'm injured. Right. Sorry, I can't. That wasn't so hard.
Tough job. Being so
I can feel my...
Will do.
mistake of mine.
Will do. On it.
I'm going down!
I've got it. Will do. Right.
Pay attention, kids. You might learn something. I can't... Feel my...
Whatever you need.
so.
Not a
Thank
problem.
you!
The Fate Fighter is wounded. We need to fight harder.
Right.
Another battle! I'm starting to think we're...
Right.
Idiot! Not a problem.
Pull yourself together!
That which doesn't kill me.
On it.
Another demonstration of our... It's a job being so remarkable all the time.
Oh, crap! My nose! My nose! No!
Work!
Oh, sweet, merciful Pyros, not again!
Pay attention, kids! I learned something. I see. To be... Oh,
Not a problem. That which doesn't kill me leaves me bitter.
I got it.
Jaded. Can't stop me, all.
Will do. On it. Can't do that.
Who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
Other demos. Strength of our powers in good order.
As you command.
I'll take care of it.
You won't get away
Will do.
I will break you!
Right. I got it. On it.
Get to the signal.
The fate. Fighter's wounded. We need to fight harder.
At once.
I'm on.
I feel...
That which doesn't kill me leaves me bitter and jaded. Will do. Slightly better than that.
Fatebinder. My armor is dripping blood. Send me your champion!
I got it.
I'm enjoying this a bit too much.
I'm not built for this.
You'll have to hit harder than that. Whatever you...
On it.
I'm on.
Right.
By your command.
I require need.
I'm on.
Threat.
Can't stop me, all. Oh.
I got it.
At once.
Right. Heads up, we have company.
By your command.
Get back here! Let's... Someone stop! Punch my blade!
As you wish.
Will do.
Permission to die. Stop together. Hey. I'm on.
You're taking harder than that!
Whatever you need.
Consider it done. As you command. You'll have to hit him.
Stop me, all. Oh.
Who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
Head. It's up. We have company.
Whatever. Every dumbass mistake of mine.
On it. On it.
Wait! I did that?
I'm on it. Oh, if I had an iron ring for every dumbass mistake of mine.
On it. Will do.
Oh, if I had an iron ring for every dumbass mistake.
On
Take
it.
a mine.
Grovel!
On it.
Well, wrong weapon for the job. By your command.
On it.
Pay attention, kids. You might learn something.
Will do. Right. Will do.
On your knees, worm!
I got it.
So, the Scarlet Chorus and Disfavored are at each other's throats. Can't say I didn't see that coming, but the Archons might have waited until one war was over before they started another. Funny sentiment, considering you're in the center of it. Not that I'm judging. I'll say this much. Our time together is anything but dull. My blades are yours for as long as you'll have me. What do you need? You've just got to know, don't you? I suppose there's no point in hiding it. Barrick and I are siblings. We share a father, if little else. I try not to think too much about some northern merchant dropping anchor in my mother's port, but it happened, and the fortunate result stands proudly before you. I've tried to get along with that ironclad knot of repression, but it would seem he's having none of it. Good riddance, then. The war's tossed us together, but nothing says we have to keep that going. The most we do for each other is try not to get the other one killed, which is more than you can say for most Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus. There were a lot of lazy days during the conquest, and among other things, I spent my off hours using messenger birds as target practice. You should have seen Ash's anger when he heard that was going on. One day, I snagged a bird that flew from the hands of a proud northern daddy. The missive was about the goings-on at the family farm. I recognized the name and handwriting from a note in my mother's belongings. There weren't too many people named Barrick in the army, so tracking him down was no challenge. I cornered him in camp, and we shared a few heated words. Some blackmail, even.
She tried to extort rings from me, and I was having none of it. Not even Graven Ash would think less of me for our father's indiscretion.
I like your confidence, but my ring belt is feeling a little light these days. Maybe you want to take me up on that offer, or I can start whispering in Disfavored ears. Think about it.
Well, Verse has a nasty habit of jabbering in my ear and making this war intolerable. I plan on parting ways and returning to the north at first convenience. My father will answer for his infidelity. Beyond that, I am happy to consider myself in every way unaffected. My superiors once accused me of having an impulsive streak, but I have worked to suppress it at every turn.
When you go back home, send Father my fondest greetings and thanks. If he hadn't gone to ground on my mother's dry dock, I might not be here today.
My heritage was a point of pride and distinction before I met you, Verse. Not that you would care.
I've asked myself about that several times, but unfortunately I don't have what you'd call a definitive answer. The Northerners put a lot of meaning behind family and blood. Seems arbitrary to me, but I don't want to discredit it entirely. I told you about what happened to my Scarlet Fury sisters. The hesitation I experienced. Sometimes I wonder if that wasn't because of my connection to Barrick. He's stubborn, regimented, everything I'm not. I suppose there's no telling for sure, but if I had to guess... Yeah, sometimes I get messed up in my head, and learning I had a brother has helped me understand that better. What do you need?
At least in theory, I'm supposed to be observing history and not getting myself wrapped into it. All the same, this is the thrill of a lifetime. Rarely does one stand so close to monumental moments in the making. You're playing a very dangerous game, or maybe toying with your food. By adopting the Vendrian God, you've bloodied the waters with the chum of hope. I must ask, did you help the Oathbreakers to suit your own plans and whims, or do you genuinely wish to protect them? And what of their past actions against Kairos? Aren't you worried of guilt by association? We saw what became of Cairn for merely suggesting treachery.
We long held to the fantasy that someone would rally to our cause. but we assumed it would be our neighbors and cousins that rescued us from extinction. I'd never have guessed salvation would come from the enemy's court.
Whatever you do next, consider that many eyes will be upon you, for you have both delivered and taken away the Overlord's edicts, and few will know how to make sense of the latter. You are an exception the Archons cannot afford to ignore. They will likely aim to control or destroy you. Most of Kairos' edicts were either worded to end in a manner of the Overlord's choosing, or the edicts have simply continued in perpetuity. That's not to say there haven't been stories of broken edicts. They're just uncommon. The oldest is, I think, Golbraith and the Edict of Sorrows, and that tale dates back to around the year 110. Aside from you, the most recent was the Edict of Twisting Grasses, back in 380. In all these stories, Kairos' edict very clearly gives its victim a single way to escape, and someone manages it. What's never happened is the pure abatement of an edict, like using a spell of warding or cancellation. Of course. How can I help? All kinds of things. My mind is old, memory's a sieve. Keeping track of you, noting what I hear of the war, scribbling down reminders to myself, that sort of thing. Well, yes. If I'm worth my weight in tin as a craftsman of record, future generations will know of you. So yes, the Archon of Posterity sent me. You seem troubled by something that ought to be an honor. Do you have something to hide? Do you want your actions forgotten? Either way, if I actually survive following you and make a cogent text out of this ramble of notes, well, if that happens, and you hate it, you can torch the pages. On that, we agree. Don't worry, history needn't know the exact body count of your saga. Oh, certainly not. But it depends on the ink I'm using. Too much cerulean and I can't sleep. But just the right amount, and I can write all night. The red ink will give you swamp bottom if you drink it, but absorbed through the skin, it'll make you taste colors and smell music. Speaking of which, I should change out my tip. I use 3 kinds, sepia, cerulean, and a red that's never the same shade. My recipe needs work. I like having 3 colors, but they also provide different, states of mind for writing. I can't in good conscience poison you. Oh, fine. The things I do to educate the youth. Here's how it works. The reds give you a brief bout of synesthesia, great for writing music. Cerulean can unhinge me a bit, but it blocks out the cramps and anxiety. My sepia ink is perfect for quiet contemplation, also insomnia. Made from only the finest cuttlefish. What do you think? I'd say it's working. Sit and enjoy that for a bit. It'll wear off soon. One moment, my friend. Just let me finish this thought. Of course. How can I help? Feel anything? On second thought, I shouldn't be poisoning your young mind. That should wear off in just a moment. One moment, my friend. Just let me finish this thought. Of course. How can I help? The spires predate us all. As far as I know, we're the only ones who've been up here since... ever? I think this might be a first. Perhaps the real Trailblazer had trouble getting down and was lost to history. Of course. How can I help? The spires predate us all. Of course. How can I help? Are you asking for an objective assessment? Or is this your way of saying you want to gossip? You must have some leverage over him, as I would have thought he'd lead us into a disfavored trap long ago. Or maybe the Legion is just that polite? I must admit, I am completely fascinated by his predicament. Ever tried diagramming the articulations of his armor? Don't. It'll only lead to madness and ruination. I know little of swordplay, and couldn't work a curve and arrow to save my life. I can't really comment on the lady.
Lady? You're just afraid to talk in front of me, clear as day. Your sweat is easier to read than your ink scribbles.
What? No, not at all. I just don't know how to comment on a warrior's worth, that's all.
Spare me your blather. Think that, do you? Didn't know you had such swollen hope for me.
A most fascinating specimen. I think she has great potential. A dangerous amount of potential, to be blunt. The Scarlet Furies are the fighting elite of the Scarlet Chorus, and that means floating to the top of a sea of blood and chum. We should consider ourselves lucky to have her on our side, with her weapons usually pointed away from us. Good tidecasters stay underwater. Kairos did the Tears a favor by erasing those moon howlers from history. A shame one of them escaped justice.
I like that I make you this agitated. Considering all the things that don't seem to bother you in the slightest. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of getting off on how much power you're giving me here.
Ugh. And then there's your coquettish act whenever someone calls you on your teeth. I'll be the one ready to tangle when, not if, you decide to pounce. I am nothing if not a semi-reliable font of knowledge. What did you want to discuss? You mean what's left of them? What would you like to know? The sages are archivists, academicians, and arcanists. Our mission is to preserve the knowledge of today for the good of tomorrow. Though we are known for our magic, few realize that most sages concern themselves with scribal work. Only a select few have the talent or focus to work the sigils. Each sage benefited from the scrolls of learning that came before him, and so each sage must repay this boon by gathering, authoring, or translating new texts to the stacks. But all that's a bit generous. It's no secret that the sages were far more happy to add knowledge than to share it. Why, indeed. As historians, it is our place to document, not direct. Let others rage and resist. Ours is the duty to record. The decision to defy Kairos was not unanimous, nor one decided upon lightly. The laws of Kairos would forbid much of the knowledge contained in the Vellum Citadel. The elder sages feared, rightly perhaps, that the Overlord would put an end to our tradition of stockpiling knowledge. The Battle of the Vellum Citadel was a battle to preserve knowledge, but our actions will be remembered as treason against the will of Kairos. The sages trace their days to a generation after 5 Wives, when the first settlers moved west. The Vellum Citadel began as a scholastic retreat, slowly blossoming into the finest library in the continent across the generations. The centuries fly by, and suddenly, the Vellum Citadel is the definitive archive in the Tears. The sages branched out into carrying missives for wealthy clients, training noble children to read. The peasants may have feared us, but we remained useful enough to the kings and queens of the Tiers to avoid war. When Kairos came to the Tiers, that's when our hubris came back to haunt us. The Elder Sages, the other Elder Sages, not I, believed our spellcraft was enough to ward off any siege. Well, we know how that turned out. Traditionally, we use magic only so that we may observe and archive, so that means magic of concealment and protection. But, in truth, we have amassed a great wealth of knowledge. Before the Vellum Citadel fell, any given subject of magic had at least one sage practicing it.
So you're admitting you had at least one agent of yours studying the magic of the Tidecasters?
Well, I mean, if such information had fallen into our hands generations ago, we'd be fools not to...
Not to suckle off that ill-gotten teat of knowledge? Filthy word whores of the worst degree. The Edict of Fire wasn't half of what you deserved.
Well, it's not like I personally stole from your school, and nor did I get to study the Tidecaster scrolls. Not for lack of trying, I'll admit.
Just stop. The less you talk, the less you'll suffer when I finally kill you.
I am nothing if not a semi-reliable font of knowledge. Well, you might want to ask a more soldierly type about the armies, but do you want to talk about the Archons or other mages? Ash has served with Kairos for a mere century, but he has been a reliable general and level-headed warlord. Certainly when compared to some of the more bloodthirsty Archons to serve under Kairos. I'm not saying the disfavored are merciful. I'm just saying I've read the stories of the Archon of Blood and know it could be worse. I know Graven Ash can defend his soldiers from far away. Ash's Aegis is the term us Arcanophiles have taken to calling it. Not surprisingly, Graven Ash is beloved by his troops. I mean, if Tunon could mystically protect you from cudgels and sharp sticks from leagues away, you'd like him more. Not the youngest Archon in history, but certainly one of the younger, and history has yet to write much about her. And if I happen to be the first to write about her, well, that will look nice for my legacy. I am nothing if... and I'd be happy to oblige. Edicts are the strongest manifestation of magic we know, and they seem to violate all other lesser phenomena. No dispel cantrip has ever dented or abated an edict. Even Archons with powers of great durability cannot shrug off their effects. Just look at Cairn. Now, what I find curious, edicts can flex a little. Or so my studies suggest this is the case. Take the Edict of Storms. While the day it was proclaimed was the most violent, the actual radius of the storm has changed over time. But most will have none of my hypotheses on this matter. So, in my studies, some edicts resolve some problem of the overlords and then vanish into history. But the edicts that linger around, almost all of them begin to widen. Their effects become more intense. Here's the intriguing part. The older the edict, and the more that's written about it, the more the reports of that edict get more dire over time. Never. The only time history knows of edicts ending is when someone answers the commandments put forth in the original proclamation. I contend that edicts are powered by fear. Fear of Kairos helps fuel the casting, and fear of the edict feeds the magic, sustaining it, and, if enough people fear it, even growing it a bit. I thought just that, but wherever an edict is cast or has been cast, the land will always hum with a little background noise, if your ears train to listen. If anything, it seems edicts add more magic into the world, not the other way around. Intellectual honesty demands that I study the matter more. If I'm correct, the more people fear and obsess over an edict, the stronger it becomes. Anyway, another study for another time. And I'd be happy to oblige. Ever since the fall of the Vellum Citadel, it is hard to find someone with whom I can discuss such things. And I'd be happy to oblige. Ever since... I've forgotten more than most blood chanters have ever learned. What do you want to know? I think you know all I can teach you. And I'd be happy to oblige. Familiar is a relative term. I think I know more than most. And I'd be happy to oblige. And I'd be happy to...
Salutations, Fatebinder. Or should I now call you Lord of Vendrian's Well? The Spire King? Prince of the suggestive vertical slab. Yes. Welcome once again to our... Well, in light of your intervention, I can't rightly refer to ourselves as a lost cause. Oh, thanks, Fatebinder. Now how am I going to get off on righteous indignation? So if I might ask, what is your plan now? The edict no longer looms overhead, and Kairos' conquest of the Tears seems to be slipping, what with the armies and civil war. Aren't you a feisty one? Where was this hate for Kairos' lackeys a few years ago? You seem so very eager to turn on your old allies. But I'm not one to criticize. I think it's wise to lean into the winds of change. Kairos' armies made short work of the Tears. There's still plenty of anti-Kairos sentiment, but not a lot of folks with any fight left in them. But we have a few options. The classic option for a land war in the Tears is hiring Free City's mercenaries. Most of them were slain in the war, but the Bronze Brotherhood is still alive and strutting. They're stationed in Lethean's Crossing. The idea I was pitching to the Vendrian Guard. Let's arm every Beastman tribe that'll join us. The Stone Sea is home to a bevy of tribes that were freed during the war, and neither the Chorus nor the Disfavored can seem to tame them. If we really want to hate ourselves in the morning, Stalwart is pretty famous for not helping their neighbors, but also famous for being relentless at war. The Disfavored have their leadership surrounded, but the people in the storm-blasted countryside are still fighting. And while I don't endorse this, I must list all the options. The School of Ink and Quill. I'm sure there's some logic to working with them, just like there's some logic in cutting off your own head to prevent all future headaches. Well, the court has a guild of mages, the Forgebound, right? They are your peers, seeing as you're all legally sworn to Tunon. Maybe you can get them to be more loyal to you than to Tunon? We could also try to drive a wedge between the Earthshakers and the Disfavored. The Disfavored are Titus family, but the Earthshakers are married in family? They were followers of Cairn and got adopted in.
You are right to call the Disfavored a family. We are far more than mere countrymen, and the strength of our legion is in the love we bear towards each other. Ever since the betrayal of Cairn, we have been less trusting of our arcane allies. The Earthshakers are a fickle academic bunch. Their principles align with their ambition, not the hopes of the North. If you would strengthen these petty Tearsmen to the detriment of the Northern Legion, then I question your mind for tactics. Do not let your opportunism get away from you.
So if these Archon-less mages could be persuaded to rally to us, we'd tip things in our favor. Easier said than done, of course. The Bronze Brotherhood of Lethean's Crossing aren't necessarily good company, but at least it'll be quick and easy to find out where we stand with them. We can afford them or not. They'll take a contract or not. My first suggestion would be to build a boat. Something durable, and take our chances on the high seas far from Kairos. I have a second and more practical suggestion. Look to the horizon and slightly up. By that I mean the other spires. We should see what's atop the others. Otherwise someone else might look first. Queens and kings of past ages have claimed the spires in the sense of, hey, look, I put up a scaffold and hung a banner 1/10 of the height of a spire. But that's nowhere near the same thing as what we all just saw. So I say, let's see if the other spires react to you the same way this one does. If we don't, I'll take that as your way of saying you suffer from debilitating acrophobia. My first suggestion, I have a second and more practical suggestion. Not nearly enough, apparently. To me, they've always been axioms of navigation. You can triangulate a lot of things with the sextant and a clear view to a spire or two. We've long known the spires radiate strong magical fields, and all save the mountain spire connect to the old walls. So it's the sort of thing common folk know from afar, but avoid day to day. I would counsel you to do just that. I'm sure the events of Vendrian's Well are best explained from your mouth to Tunon's ears. Furthermore, I'd guess the Archon of Justice would want to know your take on the Archons and their divide. Well, short of Tunon giving you orders on pain of death, you have the luxury of acting on your own volition. Though the Disfavored are likely to come for you. Whatever you decide, I'm at your disposal. And I am thankful to not be a bloody pile of offal in Vendrian's Well. Life under your banner will, I'm sure, prove most interesting. What is it you need? I'm still amazed we survived the Edict of Execution. The Chorus may outnumber us, and the Disfavored seem to grow more aggressive every passing span. But we've endured our neap days. The struggle now turns in our favor. The classic option for a land war in the tiers is hiring Free City's mercenaries. If you think you could convince the Forgebound of Lethian's Crossing to back your neutral side of the war, we could redirect their iron away from the enemy and to our allies instead. The idea I was pitching to the Vendrian Guard. Let's arm every Beastman tribe that'll join. There's also the slim chance we can drive a wedge between the disfavored and their mage allies, the Earthshakers in the Stone Sea. If we really want to hate ourselves in the morning. And while I don't endorse this, I must list all the options. The School of Ink and Quill. I'm sure there's some logic to working with them, just like there's some logic in cutting off your own head to prevent all future headaches. Ask away. You know, I normally charge for this, but for you... Now, you know that's a very personal question. The knowledge I have is a centuries-old gift from the Archon of Tides. I would sooner discard my life than the sanctity of that gift. I will speak in generalities only. What is it you need? Ask away. You know, I normally charge for this. At some point, I should sit you down for a proper lesson in the ways of the school, but some other time. You know, I normally charge for this. Ask away. Well, I'm an accomplished liar, but I've no need to spin a tale about any of this. My husband, most of my kids, my parents. Kairos' thugs took them all. If I don't seem broken up, it's because I'm not. I don't feel such things anymore. I like to think of it more as well-refined rage. But amusing you noticed it all the same. Hate is akin to an acid, a poison of the heart that consumes most from within. And like any fluid, if you know how to hold it, you can apply it. It's a trick of the trade, I suppose. One's surges and dry spells of emotion are no different than the rhythms of the waves. There's a shared logic to taming both. Sadness, mania, rage. I suppose I have these things, but they're just humors in the blood to be pushed, needed, and restrained as the situation demands. Ask away. We all know how to swim, and we all know how to fight. Most Northmen are lucky to make half that boast. What would you like to know? Kairos made swift work of the Tears, destroying most of the great armies of the Younger Realms in a few short years of war. Of course, queens can be bowed, captains slain, but we are a proud people. I think Kairos will find the stubborn remnants of the Tears hard to eradicate completely. Was there a particular group you wish to discuss? Several sages came to our aid during the Second Battle of Vendrian's Well. I at first thought they meant to kill me, but instead they put their lives on the line for us. They spoke of others in their guild braving the Edict of Fire to salvage lore from the burning library. Though I may find them untrustworthy, it must be said that the sages have a certain fearlessness toward the Overlord. Perhaps that could be kindled further.
Having been part of the surrender faction within the school, I'd concur with that point. I thought the Edict of Fire would finally kill their defiant streak. But no, the sages still refuse to bow. We can and should mind their passion.
Historically speaking, an alliance with the School of Ink and Quill is just asking to have your efforts stolen and your goals undermined. Mark my words, some things never change. Well, perhaps we can shove them in front of the enemy. And the ones that volunteered at Vendrian's Well weren't all bad. The Bronze Brotherhood is one of the most feared and famous of the Free City mercenary companies. They serve the highest bidder, and during the war, that was Kairos. Most of the Brotherhood perished in the war, but a handful, the crew hired to work at Lethian's Crossing. They got to babysit the Forgebound and survived the last few years with minor losses. The band is too small to be a serious threat to the Disfavored or the Chorus, but they are scourge-worshipping berserks that will adopt any enemy for the right price. Maybe even Kairos. Kairos' war was disastrous to the human realm of Azure, but a stroke of good luck for the numerous beastmen that toiled in Azure's endless wheat fields. With the Masters all dead, the serfs have been set free. The Stonestalkers are a tribe born from these newly freed beasts. I imagine they would never bow to Kairos or the Archons. Too many generations have been enslaved. I'd wager anything they'll die before they ever bow. Beastmen understand strength and leadership, but it's always in the concrete sense. I can't pretend to know how they think, but I could never imagine them accepting an absent Prima. A distant ruler they can't see or smell seems a bit too abstract. The Unbroken is the name of the military of the now-fallen realm of Stalwart. Every citizen of Stalwart was trained to fight, and all were expected to answer the rallying cry of the Regents, the ruling small council of the realm. A decade ago, Stalwart was the ass end of jokes Tearsmen would tell each other. The people of Stalwart are obnoxiously proud of a long history of being invaded, but never losing. The Disfavored put an end to their vaunted record of victory. The Unbroken still persist, albeit marginally so. The Disfavored withdrew after the Edict of Storms began shredding the landscape. Their holdfast of Sentinel Stand Keep was never taken, and the citizen army, though scattered, could still be rallied. Ask away. Not entirely sure. Which is to say, there was a time I Ask away. I know a great deal of the mages of the Tiers, or at least their history. Most are I know a great deal of the mages of the Tier. Ask away. My one concern with Barrick is that he's still loyal to Graven Ash and not to you. We should consider ourselves fortunate that one of the most deadly members of the Scarlet Furies can. If I were you, I would keep a close eye on Burse. Probably the only word thief I haven't wanted to dismember. Him? I'd merely flay with an ice knife. Ask away. What is it you need?
You betrayed Graven Ash, the Legion, and our northern countrymen. As far as I'm concerned, you are a traitor to this campaign. And you chose the savage Tearsmen over those who came to guide them with a civilizing hand? You disgust me, Fatebinder. Let us be clear on one point. You have my blade, but my heart belongs to Ash and the North. I am a weapon bound to you only by duty. Nothing more. My Lord Binder, you have something which requires my attention? What can I do for you?
You call yourselves officers of Kairos' army, but your conduct falls short of my expectations. The court finds your accounts of Vendrian's well lacking, rife with misdirection and fallacy, fouled with baseless accusation. Silence. The contradictions in your statements will be examined, and falsities threshed from truths. If we find you have perjured yourselves, Bled and Mark will see to your fate. Fatebinder, we will start with the matter of the Archons. Graven Ash and the Voices of Nerat have declared war upon each other. In addition to violating Kairos' peace, they have thrown the conquest of the Tears into disarray. By all accounts, these hostilities began shortly after your arrival. Tell us what transpired. Could this be true? The senseless killing of a good Northman, especially the Archon's bloodkin, is no small act of war. The Voices of Nerat would answer for this crime. The Fatebinder presents testimony. I warn you both against speaking out of turn. Something more than a mere disagreement unraveled this campaign, but I will return to that in time. Let us speak of Ascension Hall. We have heard troubling accounts of your actions, including claims that you worked with the Oathbreakers known as the Vendrian Guard. As you say, and yet that was not evident from your actions. All accounts claim that you sided with the Oathbreakers. This would be the very definition of working against the Overlord's wishes. Enlighten the court. How is this not treason? Continue. I will consider this testimony at length. The court thanks you for it. Is there anything you wish to add at this time? Your testimony is accepted by the court. The statements of our guests raise questions in my mind. There is much about this campaign that has caused me to... A shipment of iron weapons was short on arrival. Where coveted iron is concerned, I don't believe it to be a clerical error. One of my agents recovered this seal in Echo Call. It belongs to a merchant collective. Lethian's Crossing is teeming with their kind. If you would root out treachery, I would advise starting there. Petitioners, leave us. I would have a private audience with the Fatebinder. Ascend and join me. You will find the way opened.
On it.
This civil war, this feud, is an insult to Kairos' peace. It should not have taken the better part of a year to silence the last vestiges of the Oathbreakers. Our allies squabble while our enemies regroup. It falls upon the court to measure the extent of the damage, and to execute the agents of disorder. I suspect that treachery, negligence, disunity, and greed have infected one or both of our esteemed allies. Until you are instructed otherwise, this matter is the court's primary focus. Graven Ash and the Voices of Nerat must be examined in close detail. You are charged with observing the Archons and presenting your case that one of them has wrought chaos and disorder upon the Tears. Then you will have fallen grievously short in your duties. The conquest of the Tears frays around us. There is a root cause. If you cannot get to its source, then I shall find another who can. As always, you will be held accountable for what you do in the court's name. But you are free to conduct your investigation in the manner of your choosing. You must expect lies, misdirection, and manipulation. Suffer not such obstructions of justice. At first, we were not amused by your alliance with the Tearsmen, but there is a logic, a pragmatism to the situation that we are willing to entertain. You deputized our enemies to bring order out of chaos. So long as you keep them on a tight leash, we will permit this union to continue under your auspices. The opportunity to bring peace through collaboration rather than warfare is one we shouldn't ignore. But if these Oathbreakers trust you, then take advantage of the connection. If indeed Graven Ash or the voices of Nerat conspire with our enemies, this would explain much of the events in Vendrian's Well and the feud ignited therein. Be careful that you don't invite them too closely into your confidence. I would not empower the rabble by sending a servant of the court to do their bidding. Ensure that your objectives come first in all things. You see the nobles milling about this court. You hear the anxiety and uncertainty of a conquered people. Day and night I audience declarations of fealty to curry favor. What you don't see are the dungeons beneath the court, and the hundreds of Tearsmen who strained against Kairos' rule. I warrant that your Oathbreaker allies know a few of them, whether by blood or by allegiance. Let it be known that their lives are forfeit to the court's mercy, and any action meant to shatter what order we have established will be met with the swiftest reprisal. Blood will flow through these halls. Is that I'm glad we understand each other. Be sure your new friends understand as well. Do not toy with the locals. Subjugate them if they will serve. Destroy them if they have exhausted their usefulness. I will not permit them to vanish into the Tears, there to gather strength with renewed defiance for the Overlord. Your fellow Fatebinders have been busy acting as my eyes and ears. I have a few leads for you to follow. You should, of course, speak with your brothers and sisters of the court if you need further counsel. The Scarlet Chorus leader in Plainsgate is set on taking the Disfavored's holdings with lethal force. Rumors of aggressive chorus posturing are commonplace, but if you are in the Stone Sea, it would be wise to investigate. There is a final matter to discuss. A sensitive topic. In spite of the many shortcomings at Vendrian's Well, you managed to make a name for yourself. You proclaimed an Edict of Kairos, resolved its demanding conditions, and ascended the mountain spire. Any one of these feats would be worthy of recognition by the highest authority. You managed to accomplish 3. I would caution you against such flippancy to your role. Others would look to you for confidence in the court, in Kairos' very laws. I would not have them see this disappointment on display. Whether by design or by accident, you have captured the attention of Kairos' army and the local Tearsmen alike. This is no small opportunity, and the court charges you with exploiting your new standing to its fullest potential. You have a title in our hierarchy. However, it's a little-known secret that one's standing in the world is determined by their infamy, their deeds, and how they come to be known. Mind this notion as you bring justice to this lawless frontier. There may come a time when your deeds speak for you louder than any title. Whatever you did to capture the attention of the masses at Vendrian's Well, I would encourage you to do so again. Good. It falls to us to set a new standard for these southern barbarians. You are dismissed. Should the court have need of your presence, you will receive word. Go forth and do my bidding, and bring glory and honor to the tears in Kairos' name.
Right.
You call yourselves officers of Fatebinder. You arrive just in time. The representatives of the Vendrian's Well Siege have finished their testimony, and I cross-examine. Albatronus here wishes to put you to task for killing her master, the Iron Marshal. You recall this from Vendrian's Well, of course. The charge is murder of a subject protected under Kairos' law. The punishment is death. I hope you can answer for yourself, Fatebinder. Let us begin. Offer your testimony. We would hear your account of what led to the officer's demise. As I have heard, though Kairos' law makes no specific allowances for the disorienting influence of mayhem, the court is sympathetic. Disorder in the field can sway even the most rigid sense of morality. However, my servants are taught to be unfaltering in their objectivity. The death of the Iron Marshal is a failing in that respect. Would she? I wonder that you know this with such confidence. The disfavored are rigid adherents to Kairos' law. They do not compromise themselves without legal sanction, unless something has challenged that honored reputation. Enthusiasm can be an encumbrance to military strength. The disfavored are typically more measured and regimented, but I have seen many occasions when authority was its own burden. Continue, Fatebinder. So be it. After weighing the matter, the court finds you innocent of the charges. Normally, I would not accept wartime as a viable defense for your actions. However, the court is willing to look beyond the matter. Vendrian's Well had fallen to civil war and chaos in the scramble to resolve Kairos' edict. Loyalties were questioned all around. Enough. I've let you speak enough on this subject. Lieutenants, there is a civil war afoot, and I require an explanation. Silence. The contradictions in your statements will be examined, and falsities threshed from truths. If we find you have perjured yourselves, Bled and Mark will see to your fate. Fatebinder, we will start with the matter of the Archons. Could this be true? The Fatebinder presents testimony. Let us speak of Ascension Hall, as you say. And yet that was not evident from your actions. All accounts claim that you sided with the Oathbreaker. Continue. I will consider this. Your testimony is a shipment of petitioners.
On it.
This civil war, this feud, our allies' squabble, graven ash and the voices of... As always, you will be held at first so long as... But if these Oathbreakers trust you, then take advantage. However you choose, you see the nobles milling about this court. You hear the anxiety and uncertainty of a conquered people. I warrant that your Oathbreaker allies know a few of them, whether by blood or by allegiance. Let it be known that their lives are forfeit to the court's mercy, and any action meant to shatter what order we have established will be met with the swiftest reprisal. Blood will flow through these halls. Is that clear? I'm glad we understand each other. Be sure your new friends understand as well. Do not toy with the locals. Subjugate them if they will serve. Destroy them if they have exhausted their usefulness. Your fellow Fatebinders have been busy acting. The Scarlet Chorus leader in Plainsgate is... There is a final matter to do. In spite of the many shortcomings, any one of these feats would be worthy of recognition by the highest authority. It pleases me that you grasp your role, as long as you temper it with a sense of duty. Whether by design or by accident, you have captured the attention of Kairos' army in the You have a title in our hierarchy. However, whatever you did to capture the attention of the masses at Vendrian's Well, I would encourage you to do so again. You begin to understand. Whether your acts are favorable or heinous, it falls to you to bring greatness to this campaign. You are dismissed. Should the court have need of your presence, you will receive word. Go forth and do my bidding, and bring glory and honor to the tears in Kairos' name.
On it.